just living the dream under this southern sky. It's where stories are born and legends never die.
Welcome to podcast number 6, and I have as usual, another real special guest is Ray Metzler with the Alabama Forestry Commission. Ray and I have bounced around against each other for years now. I've known him, I know his son, but anyway, we're really glad to have you with us today, Ray.
I appreciate the opportunity to be here, Johnny.
Oh, it's going to be good. People like this kind of stuff, and especially suburban people. They just don't get enough of it. They can't get it. There's nowhere for them to get it. And I know y'all working hard in your education probably to get the word out about forestry and forestry issues. And we've always, us as foresters, have always done a very poor job of telling our story. You agree?
Yeah, I could say the same thing that wildlife biologists.
Yeah, I bet.
We don't tell our story good enough.
That's right. We had Brandon Bobo. My last podcast was Brandon Bobo, and he's an interesting guy. He knows what he's talking about, and he's a good biologist. Mm-hmm. And I got Art Henderson coming in the next week or two that's going to be talking about RCW. And I'm just going to let you talk about your job, and you're with the Alabama Forestry Commission, and tell about everything you do and what you have done in the past if you want to. Just don't talk about me. Okay?
Okay. You got a deal.
All right. Just let her fly.
Again, I work with the Alabama Forestry Commission. I've been working with them since 2015. I retired from the State Game and Fish Division at the end of 2015 it was. Worked there for 30 years and retired from the Game and Fish Division, and now I work with the Forestry Commission since April of 2016. So it's been a little over 9 years now, and I really enjoy working with the commission.
Yeah, well, you're working for Rick Oates. You're working for a good guy.
Yeah, Mr. Oates is a very good boss.
Yeah. Now, when you were with the Department of Conservation, you were actually over the hunter safety program, weren't you?
Yeah, for many years, yes.
Yeah. That's how I got to know you.
Yeah, from 1993 to 2011.
Yeah, I knew it was a pretty good while there. I was in some of that when they first started that stuff and getting the number. Let me tell you what happened to me. And the ag teacher that was there now told me, he said, I ought to fail you for missing this one question. Now, I missed 1 out of 100. Isn't there 100 questions?
Yeah.
1 out of 100. And it was true or false. He said, okay to point an unloaded gun at someone, and I put true.
No.
He told me, he said, I ought to fail you for missing that one question.
Always keep it pointed in a safe direction.
That's right. That's right. Well, if you want to talk a little bit about your hunter safety program and what all you did, and undoubtedly it's done a pretty good job. We have fewer accidents now.
Yeah, well, there are a lot fewer accidents now than there were prior to hunter education becoming mandatory. Yes.
Well, do you know if we are still behind on hunting license sales and that kind of stuff, like they kept telling us it was declining?
I don't see the numbers of licenses sold like I used to when I worked with the division, but I think that the numbers are declining at a very slow rate.
Yeah.
We hadn't had a precipitous decline, but we've had a little bit of a decline.
What do you think causes that, and what do you think could cause it to go back up some?
I don't know that we will ever get hunting license sales to go back up like they were in the 70s and 80s, just because we're becoming more less rural.
Yes.
There's less land in Alabama to hunt on than there were in the 60s and the 70s.
Yes.
And society has changed a little bit, but I think our numbers, license sales, like I said, they're not declining like a lot of other states have had precipitous declines, and Alabama has not experienced that.
Well, that's good. That's good to know. I was really worried about it. And I'll tell you something else, Ray. I don't hunt like I used to.
I don't either.
No. I blame it on sorriness. I don't know what you blame it on.
Getting old.
Yeah, getting old. Yeah, too many birthdays.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't. I used to be mad at a turkey. Now, I was mad at him, as you can tell. And, of course, that's just the last, I don't know, probably 15 years. I don't know. It's not many. And those beards, too, are from several different states. But I used to be real mad at them, and I'm just not as mad at them as I used to be, we've healed up, let's put it that way. All right, and now you're with the Forestry Commission, and as a wildlife biologist with the Forestry Commission, do you advise landowners on how to manage for certain species?
I was hired to do primarily threatened and endangered species work to provide the commission employees and the agency as a whole with information on threatened and endangered species, what you can do, what you can't do, and but I do all sorts of things when it comes to providing technical assistance to landowners on how to do good things on their property.
Yeah, and I've told people, a lot of people ask me, what's the best thing I can do for my deer? And I said, I always tell them this. I said, the best thing you can do for any wildlife is expose dirt to sunlight.
That's right.
Once you do that, then you're going to enhance growth of succulent flowers for them and weeds and grasses to eat. A turkey is a little different in that the most important thing you can do for a turkey is a turkey will eat anything to start off with. I mean, I killed one time, had a cat-eye marble in his craw. But they'll eat insects, they'll eat flowers off poplar trees, they love them. And those 1,000 legs, you find them a lot with those. But the most important thing you can do for a turkey, and you correct me if I'm wrong, is to provide good brood habitat.
Yes, that's very important.
Yeah, because if you don't protect them when they're young, once they get up and get feathered out, they can pretty well take care of themselves.
Yeah, most turkey poults, the highest mortality rate is during that first 2 weeks before they can fly. So they need to have good cover above their head, but it has to be open enough for them to be able to travel through and get bugs.
Yeah, and chase grasshoppers. They love bugs. They got to have that protein.
Yes.
Yeah, but once they get about 2 weeks old and they can fly up in a tree, then they're pretty well on their way at that point.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good. And get rid of that down. Get a few feathers. I've seen last year I saw 2 or 3 bunches. One of them was huge little turkeys. The rest of them were like 2 or 3. And another thing about turkeys, and I'm glad you're here because you can tell me if I'm wrong, because I'm not a wildlife biologist, but they'll recover their populations quicker than deer will. It's simply because they'll hatch 12, 15 at a time, where a deer just have 1 or 2. And so it takes a longer time for the deer to explode their populations than it does turkeys.
That could be true if every hen had real high nest survival and real high poult survival as well.
Yeah.
Which most of the time they don't have.
Well, that's a good point because all the does will throw a fawn.
Yes.
But about 10% of your hens will actually lay, hatch, and raise a brood.
Yeah.
Isn't that about right?
That's about right. Yes.
Yeah. So I guess they all have their struggles.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, what about a threatened and endangered species? What kind of work do you do with that right now?
Since I've worked with the commission, I did a lot of work with gopher tortoises, which are a South Alabama species that occurs in sand hills. They dig a burrow. And they live underground. Primarily, they spend most of their time in the burrow. They come out to eat and breed, and they lay eggs in the apron of the burrow. I did a lot of tortoise work, and I've done some work doing things with bats and salamanders and woodpeckers and just various things. I hadn't done near as much work with those species as I have tortoises. But
now when those little tortoises hatch, are they on their own from that point on?
Yes.
Yeah. So there's not any kind of parenting going on.
No, that when they come out of the egg, they have to find their way up to the surface of the ground, and they take off and go about life.
Yeah. Well, I've seen them. I mean, we had a lady with the Museum of Natural History has one in captivity, and she brings it around and shows it to the kids and stuff. Now, the reason their decline was because people were eating them, right?
That's one of the reasons. People during the Depression era, in particular, and up through the Depression, people would eat them just like they do turtles. I mean, snapping turtles. People eat snapping turtles, and tortoises were the same way. But between people eating them and then changing habitat and clearing of land, when this country was settled, a lot of Alabama was longleaf pine forest, and we've lost a lot of that longleaf pine forest for various reasons, and agriculture, the timber industry, but those are all things that, I mean, we all got to eat, so you got to have agriculture, and we build houses and lots of different things with our timber. It's a renewable resource, so all of those things have contributed to changes in the landscape.
So look, if I was down in South Alabama and I was in forestry business, what kind of restrictions would be on me in an area that I was cutting timber and there were Gorford tortoises?
Really, the only thing you have to worry about is not disturbing the burrow. What we tell foresters and loggers in the southern part of the state is to keep your heavy equipment 13 feet away from the mouth of the burrow. And if you'll do that,
you're fine.
You're pretty good, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, has that, have you noticed any kind of population growth?
I can't say that I've seen any population growth. Now, I have seen areas where we have more tortoises, but I think that reason that we've got more tortoises just they did more habitat work. They started, they opened up the canopy some, they did prescribed burning and made it better habitat. And if it's one of those things, if you build it, they will come, kind of like the Field of Dreams. It's the same thing with gopher tortoise habitat. If you build it, they will come. And tortoises have found those areas that habitat work is going on.
Right. Did you know there was a guy that came over here from Spain or somewhere right after DeSoto did? And his name was, I may be wrong, but it was William Bartram. Mm-hmm. And he came up through here studying all the flora and plants and animals and all of that kind of stuff. And he made this comment in one of his books. I got his book. I got him and his son, they both wrote a book. And he said that men could ride 8 horses abreast across the vast pine savannas. And what he was talking about was in our area, especially South Alabama, South Georgia, and Florida. And I keep telling everybody now, I say, show me a place that you can ride 8 horses abreast across now. It's certainly not vast.
Yeah, no. We don't have near as much prescribed fire. And, years ago, when fire, was started to burn, it just burned till it went out.
Yeah.
And over the last 100 years, we started putting them out. And now we started letting some of them burn. I mean, we light them on purpose, but we got a fire laying around them and just burn what we want to burn. Yeah.
The Forest Service was going to do a pea burn up here one time, and I told him, I said, if that fire jumps your fire lane, don't you put it out. You let it go.
Yeah.
I had somebody set some woods afire on my neighbor up here on the north end of mine, and it burned over on mine, and Forestry Commission was up there plowing. I said, stay away from there. You go back over yonder and plow. Don't plow here. Yeah. And it come over there and burned. Man, it just looks so much better in there now.
Oh, yes. It puts sunlight on the ground and makes it more conducive for lots of different species.
Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot a minute. That'd be okay, won't it?
I guess so.
Tell me your opinion about warm season burning.
I like it.
I think it's great.
Yes. The commission does some of it on our state-owned forest, And it all depends on your objectives and, you know, what's out there and what you want to have as a result of the burn. And sometimes it's a cool season burn is good, and sometimes a growing season burn is needed.
Now, if you're needing to kill a lot of your mid-story stuff, like sweet gum and stuff that's grown up under your pines and everything, warm season is a much better time to do that than the cold season.
Yes.
Yeah, because if it's cold, it probably won't do anything but spread it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A cool season burn top kills a lot of things, but a warm season, a growing season burn actually kills.
Yeah. And people say, well, you're burning up turkey nest, and you're going to have some collateral damage. I understand that. Everybody should understand that. But the long-term effect of building that nesting habitat much better benefits those turkeys than what they had there.
Yes, that's right.
About all the nesting you had in those areas was perimeter nesting, just right around the edges. Yeah. And in the long term, it's going to take you several years to see a difference in it, but you should see a difference in it.
And they'll re-nest. When I was a student at Auburn, I did my master's research on turkeys in Jackson County. And we had transmitters on gobblers and hens, and we put them on poults as well. And most of the hens, if they weren't successful on their first nest, they would just about all re-nest.
A good hen will do that.
Yes.
Yeah. If you run a hen that's not going to be too good, you hadn't harmed anything anyway.
That's right.
If you run her off the nest. Yeah, and that's a good point. I had Brandon in here the other day, and I told Brandon, I said, now, Brandon, the longer we go here, the more I'm going to be putting you on the spot. Does that don't hurt your feelings?
No, I'm okay with that.
All right. Now, one thing that I fought against pretty heavy when Gunner Guy was commissioner of conservation was them eliminating fall turkey season, because I was raised in a family that we didn't have any deer, so the only big game we had to hunt was a turkey. And so fall season was a big deal for us. You know, other people just hunt squirrels and rabbits during the fall. There wasn't no deer, and very few even hunted turkeys. But we did, and it was a family thing with us. And so when they started getting rid of it, Chuck Seitz himself said it's not doing any biological harm to the turkeys.
That's right.
Because there's not enough of us, and we don't ever kill no turkeys. No way to be. And I've killed a good many in the fall, but not a lot.
The harvest is real low.
Yes.
On a statewide level, it's
That's
very
right.
low.
Very low. Yeah. So we were at Rogersville, and we was at a cab meeting up there, and the Gunner Guy got up there and said, we don't, with the Department of Conservation, we do not do any thing in the Department of Conservation that we don't have good data to back it up. So Clark Carpenter was hipping me with that, and Clark is an attorney. And being an attorney, when he's in court, he listens to and hangs on to every word. You follow me? Mm-hmm. So he got up there and he said, Commissioner, I will respectfully say that I listened to what you said, and I understand what you said. But I want you to show me the data that you have that fall turkey season is harming the turkey populations. Well, they didn't have any. He said, I'm trying to square that with you not doing anything without good data to back it up. So why did you say that, and you did this?
Yeah.
You know, but it really put him on the spot. And boy, you talking about dogging us. Old Gunner Guy was dog. I ain't got a lot for him, because he was just a political appointee anyway, just like most of them are. I don't even know who the commissioner is now, do you?
He's Chris Blankenship.
Oh, I've heard of him.
Yeah, Chris is one of the guys that worked his way up through the department. He was actually started his career, I believe, as a marine
biologist.
He was with Marine Police. I'm not sure if he started as a biologist or with their enforcement staff, but he became their director, and then was appointed. He was actually assistant commissioner for a little while under Gunner Guy, and then when Gunner resigned, I don't know if Gunner resigned or what.
I don't know.
Yeah, but he left the Department of Conservation, and Chris Blankenship became commissioner.
Well, I'm kind of glad to hear that. I didn't know that. I probably, I just got so out with them. I just quit talking to them. And Grant Lynch was on that board.
Yeah.
You remember Grant?
Yeah, Grant's was with the Speedway.
Yes. And Grant is sick now. He's trying to recover and everything, and we want to wish him all the best. But I just kind of got away from it, and I felt like I said, well, they've outlawed it in the National Forest, and that's where we all hunted. So they basically did away with our fall season by doing that. Mm-hmm. And they knew that. Okay, now, what else we need to talk about, Ray? What about Drew? Tell us about Drew. That's her son, incidentally.
Yeah, my son is he's an Auburn graduate, now works with the Forestry Commission as well. He's the forest health coordinator. Came to work with the commission last February, I believe it was, just at the beginning of the southern pine beetle outbreak here in the state of Alabama. And
we've had a good bad one, haven't we?
Yeah, he kind of was indoctrinated during, like, drinking from the fire hose, you might say, because last year was the worst year for southern pine beetles in Alabama ever, I believe.
Really?
Or at least the last 20 years, I know, yeah. He flew in a lot of counties counting pine beetle spots, and there was like 13,000 southern pine beetle spots in the state.
When I was with the Forest Service, I used to fly looking for them on the National Forest. Matter of fact, they nicknamed me. They'd call me a bugger or something, But anyway, we would fly, and Warren Lacey would be with me, and he would tell me what to write down. Because I was just out of high school. I didn't know how to mark it on a map or anything like that. I probably could now, but I couldn't then. And I would write down, he'd say, so-and-so's old house place, and he'd tell me a distance from so-and-so. And I'd write that down, and we could get out and get in the old International Scout that they had and drive right to them. I mean, Warren could do, he was that good at it. And we'd cut those trees down and cut them toward the center and spray them with cotton poison, DDT. That's what we used.
Yeah.
Sure was.
Can't do that now.
No, can't do that now. But I'm sure they have insecticides that are just as good now for that. But I have worked in a lot of people don't understand that the southern pine beetle almost has to be to touch another tree to infect that tree because it can't fly. It can fly, but it just kind of goes straight down. Yeah, and so the best way to do it is when you cut your trees down, cut you a little buffer around it and cut them toward the middle, and you'll keep them from spreading that way. You hope that you do. Yeah.
Last year he did all the flights, and about midsummer, the commission actually got the ability to look at current satellite imagery. Not current, but it was like a week old, and commission employees actually got good enough they could see southern pine beetle spots on satellite imagery on their computer sitting in Montgomery.
Really?
Yeah.
Isn't that cool?
It was.
Now, I also heard that the law enforcement, the federal law, FLOs, the FLOs, and a lot of the law enforcement with the Forestry Commission, and some of the companies had people that worked too, investigators and stuff. They literally got to where they could see marijuana patches on imagery.
That's pretty good imagery, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
But they tell me that it's just it's still green, but it's a different green, a different color green. And they could spot them, and they always had the roundup every year. I'd always go up and eat catfish with them when they'd have it, But anyway, I told you that I was going to ask you some other questions about some issues. And I was going to ask you about non-native invasive plants. Let's say Kogan grass. Mm-hmm. Do you work with anything like that?
I see it. I'm not part of our eradication team. The commission actually has several employees that do Kogan grass eradication, and a lot of it's done through contracts with private sprayers. But I know what Kogan grass is, and
it's pretty bad stuff, especially South Alabama.
Yes, it is. In the southern part of the state, it's very bad.
Yeah. And it literally chokes out everything, wildlife, other plants, everything. Yeah.
I've seen fairly open pine stands in Mobile County that were nothing but Kogan grass, like 40 acres of Kogan grass.
Wow. Now, it's my understanding that stuff came from the Far East, and they used it as packing in a lot of stuff they shipped into our ports. Thus, coming up the interstates, they would spread those seeds out everywhere and got them going. And I can remember driving down to Mobile, and I would see round circles where they had sprayed them because they grow like that.
Yeah, in a circular pattern.
Yeah, I can remember doing that, and one at first wondering what it was, and then when they started talking about it, I said, "Oh yeah, I understand now what that was." Well, what about other species like autumn olive? Of course, I know honeysuckle's not that big a deal, but kudzu is, especially like in Clay County. Some of the counties are a lot worse than others.
Yeah, kudzu's pretty much statewide.
Well, my daddy had a surefire way to get rid of it.
How did he do that?
You move off and leave it.
That's right.
That's about right, isn't it? Yeah, he said that and mimosa. That's the only way to get rid of it.
Yeah, there's some good herbicides now for kudzu.
Chinese privet, too, is another one.
Yes.
It is really bad, and this place is full of it.
I think we have more privet than any of the other invasives right now.
Now, and it started off as a hedge to landscaping around the house.
Landscaping around your house.
Yeah. Let me ask you about another non-native invasive species. Is the tree that the Bradford pear is grafted to. So when you plant a Bradford pear, as long as it's still living and everything, it doesn't spread from that part of the root system. It spreads from, it don't really spread, the regular Bradford pear. But if you ever cut that thing down, then what stump sucks up from it is from that tree, and it is a place, and you know that Highway 76 between Wilsonville and Chillsburg, through there. If you go in the early spring, it looks like a huge snow has come in there. There's so many of those trees, and I understand it comes from the roots that were grafted. A Bradford pear was grafted to. It's a type of pear, but it's very invasive. And birds love the seeds, so they take it over here and spread it, and that kind of stuff.
They're statewide too. We have them everywhere.
Yeah, up here in Oxford, there's a place just full of them, and that's another plant you just about have to move off and leave.
Yes.
You know what?
My mother is dealing with that right now. She has 6 acres, and I'm gonna say she has a quarter to a half acre of Bradford pear.
Really?
Yes. That my brother and I are slowly but surely working on cutting them down, hack and squirt the stump, and then burning up all the debris.
Well, I guess we probably done burn up our 15, 20 minutes, and Ray, I want to thank you for coming and being with us. I know I've talked to you several times over the years, and it's really nice to have you up here, and came to our Treasure Forest tour today. We appreciate that. I want to get your boss Rick up here if I can tie him up one day and get him here, and let's talk about some things.
I'll bring it up to him when I get back to Montgomery.
Yeah, tell him I'd like to have him. You know, if he's ever up this way, I want to give him a tour of our schools too.
Yeah. Okay.
And show him what we're doing there, especially on the forestry side of it.
Yeah.
Well, I do appreciate you coming. Thank you very much.
I've enjoyed being here. Thank you very much for allowing me to be part of the program.
You're famous now. It'll go viral, you know.
There you go. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
To Munford, our home, and all its glory on display, and to the Cheaha Legends that'll never fade away.